Okay, great. Well, it looks like we have most of our participants here, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to officially introduce myself to those of you who have not met yet. My name is Sam Shower. I'm the Israel Ride Communications Manager at Friends of the Arava Institute, one of the two partner organizations that helps to run the Israel Ride, the other being Hazon. And you can see my colleague Jessie Carseth, who is called in from London, and she is the operations manager. And together, us along with Miriam Leachling, who will be joining us shortly, will be giving you today's presentation. Great, so this is part one of our 5-part webinar series. We've been doing this for the past few years and have gotten a lot of great feedback on it. If you do have any suggestions or questions at any point, please type them into the chat box below. And without further ado, let's get started. So this is our training tips webinar. We will be covering other topics later on this summer. We have roughly one webinar every month for the next 5 months leading up to the Israel Ride. And you can see what each of those webinars will be covering here. We have a couple of fundraising focused ones, and then 2 that are focused on actual life on the Israel Ride. But getting into today's presentation, first we'll be giving you a brief overview of the Israel Ride itself. We'll be getting into, again, some more specific tips for training. And then we will also be giving you a bit more information about some of the riders in your community and how you can get out on your bike and train. So first, I just want to give a brief overview of the ride. Something we like to say on the Israel Ride is that it's not a race, it is a ride, and it is very much about the journey, not the destination. So this is a week-long bike ride with 3 riding groups and 1 full-day touring group. The riding groups are riding anywhere from 150 to 350 miles over 5 riding days. But beyond the riding, it's an incredible experience, an incredible community that supports 2 incredible organizations. We will learn a bit more about those organizations shortly, but I just want to talk a little bit about that experience and what it comes down to outside of the riding. But more than anything, this is about seeing Israel, seeing an amazing country in a unique way through a unique perspective. It's about learning while you're there, hearing firsthand from Middle Eastern alumni of the Arava Institute who can tell you about their experience at the Institute firsthand. We have about 50 crew members on the ride, about 40 of whom are Arava Institute alumni. And it's pretty amazing having them there. You can ride along next to them on the ride, ask them questions. They'll be there to support you every step of the way. And beyond that, we have an incredible Israel Ride community filled with alumni who have come back year after year. We have a number of alumni who this will be their 14th Israel Ride, which is truly an incredible inspiration. And I know a number of you I got to meet last year on my first Israel Ride, which was quite a pleasure. And I look forward to riding with you again this fall. So a little bit about the organizations that run the Israel Ride. First, we have the Arava Institute for Environmental Studies. It's based in Israel on Kibbutz Keturah in the Arava Valley. This is the region of Israel that we will be spending most of our time in during the Israel Ride, and we will actually get to visit the Arava Institute. What makes it very unique is, in addition to the academic program, the student body is composed of 1/3 Arab Israelis, 1/3 Jewish Israelis, 1/3 Jewish Israelis, 1/3 Arab Israeli, Jordanian, and Palestinian, and 1/3 international student. So in addition to the academic program, they're coming together and doing peace building and leadership seminars to try to work together and advance trust and cooperation and progress in the region. So without further ado, I would like to pass the torch over to Jesse Carsiff, who will be speaking briefly about Hazon, and then we'll also let you guys know a bit more about the riders in this year's Israel Ride community. So Jesse, take it away. Sorry, it looks like Jesse might be having a touch of technical difficulties. So just while we are waiting, let's see if we can get great. Miriam, hello.
Hi, everybody.
So we're joined by Miriam Leachling, and I will let her talk because you're hearing me.
Hi, everybody. Good morning or afternoon now. My name is Miriam Leischling. I'm the Director of Bike Rides here at Hazon. We help create the logistics portion of the ride. And just to talk about Hazon for a moment, Hazon is a New York-based nonprofit that works to create healthier, more sustainable communities. The way we do this is multifold. We work with a lot of different Jewish organizations, synagogues, schools, JCCs, etc., through and help them make their organizations more sustainable, whether that is we help them create green kiddishes, we help them with educational curricula to integrate into their Jewish educational programs. We have our own Jewish immersive programming up at Friedman, Isabel Friedman in the Berkshires, where we do everything from silent meditative retreats to big food conferences, raising awareness about sustainability and food justice in the Jewish world. And we also work with amazing organizations like the Arva Institute. Yeah, that's a long and short of what we do. We work with children. We have different programs like Teva, Adama. Teva is a school program for kids in middle school. Adama is for young professionals, as well as a whole slew of other immersive experiences to help bring awareness of sustainability and interweave it into the Jewish community and enrich Jewish lives through awareness of sustainability and environmental issues.
Great. Well, thank you, Miriam. It seems like Jesse is having a bit of technical difficulties. So I think in the moment I will take over. Sorry, I just wanted to mute Miriam so we weren't getting that feedback. Let me introduce you to your fellow riders. I sincerely apologize for these difficulties, and we certainly will hope not to have them again in the future. So as you can see, we have a wonderful and diverse riding group for this year. A number of you are returning alumni, which is something we certainly always encourage and are very excited for. Something we always love to see is a very diverse, community, not just in ages, but also in religious background, your experience with Israel, and various other places. But additionally, we always love to see where you come from and how many different states and countries we have riders from. One thing that we forgot to update to this is we actually have a rider from France this year. So there should be a third arrow pointing off to the side. But this will give you a good idea of kind of who you'll be riding with. Clearly, you can see a lot of our concentration is in the northeast New England area, considering both of our organizations are based in Boston and New York, respectively. But it is very diverse. There should probably be a couple Alaska numbers there too, because I know we have some seasonal Alaska riders. But yeah, it's always wonderful to see. So again, if you do have any questions during this presentation, please enter them in the chat box below. And now I will pass it back over to Miriam, who will be giving you a bit of an introduction to training for the Israel Ride.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to talk a little bit about training for the Israel Ride, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm sure that some of the things I'm going to say are things that you're familiar with, but there are always some helpful little nuggets for people who are returning on the ride. And for those of you who are new, either to long distance riding or to the Israel Ride in particular, this will be a great way to get started with your training. So when you begin your training, which now is a good time if you don't live in a warm climate like California or Florida, where you are lucky enough to have riding weather the whole year, it's finally starting to warm up on the East Coast. And giving yourself 6 months time is a great way to figure a nice slot of time in there without it adding too much at the end. Your goal when you train for a ride is to not take on huge chunks at any given point, but to go slowly and add little by little, so that when you get to the end, when you get to November, you're well trained, your muscles have been conditioned. Could you get on a bike now and ride 30 miles every day? Sure, you might be able to, but it won't be nearly as enjoyable as if you warm up your quads and your legs, etc. Okay, so when you have when you set your goals, you're going to, I'm just going to go back here for a little bit. When you have your goals, you want to try to make sure that you set a realistic time frame. So if your goal is 30 miles every day, you might want to start off with shorter periods of time on the Sunday. Getting involved in a spinning class would be helpful as well. For those of you who are long distance riders, getting yourselves involved in some bit of cross training and stretching of your muscles is helpful as well. When you purchase your gear for the ride, for those of you who have lots of your own gear, you don't need it's not you need one set of gloves, couple of sets of jerseys. You don't need lots and lots of different things. Glasses, water bottle. I like to use a Camelback on this ride as opposed to water on cages. That's just me personally. It's easier to turn around and drink than to get off your bike, but that's a very personal thing. Knowing your distance. So for those of you who are either newer to riding or have done the ride before or have been to Israel and have done big tours like this before, I like to say that it's not, choosing your ride length does not necessarily align with how strong of a rider you are. We've had really strong riders who have decided to do the shorter groups because they've been on the ride before and now want to have a more relaxed approach to the ride. And then we have newer riders who say 35 miles a day is a great amount of distance to do in a single day, and I don't need to do more. Shomrim is our shortest group. That's 35 miles. You have Sofim, which is the middle group, and Chalutzim, which is the longest length every day. And they, thank you, they do 75 miles a day with lots of climbing. All right, here, this slide over here shows you an example of per week how you would train. So if you've done any sort of couch to 5K for beginner riders, or if you are an experienced rider and you want a good way to space out your training between now and the ride, this is a great way to look at it. So for example, at the top you have your mileage and your week, and we've divided it into Chalutzim, Sofim, and Shomrim. A long ride is a ride that you do once a week generally. You don't want to do your longest ride every single time you get on your bike. You want to be able to train your muscles and then allow them to rest. So a long ride or a long run, again, for those people who might have trained for marathons before, is generally once a week. So for example, your first ride, if you're planning on doing 75 miles a day, you want the first long ride that you do once a week to be about 35 miles. You'll do that for a couple of weeks, and then you'll see that you increase slowly. You're only increasing about 5 miles every 2 weeks, not more than that. And that's how you get to 75 miles by the 11th week. And then you'll notice that in the 12th week, you drop back to 35. There's a reason for that. You don't want to do your longest ride, regardless of your level, right before you get to Israel. You don't want to sit on a plane for 12 or 17 hours with cramped muscles, but also you want to reduce your chances of injury, and that's why we go back. Your muscles will remember, and this space of extra time to recover is very important right before you ride. Okay, gearing and canvas. Okay, this is talking about learning to use the gears on your bike. So again, if you're a more of experienced rider, you know about gears. If you come from a place like Florida where the ground is flat, I would recommend for more experienced riders going out and finding a hill and getting comfortable changing your gears on ascents and descents, because that might not be something you have as much familiarity with on a day-to-day basis. If you live in a place like San Francisco and you're very used to working with hills, you might want to play with your gears a little bit in advance to know what that sweet spot is on riding long distances on flats. For those of you who are newer to riding, gears and cadence has to do, cadence refers to how quickly you're spinning your wheels when you're riding on your bike, and your gears refer to how much resistance you are putting on the wheels so that you can either get up a hill or go down a hill. I'm not going to get into the specifics here. I'm happy to help talk anybody through this offline, but the best way to learn about this is to go to a bike shop. They have lots of free classes on this, and then to go out and practice. Please don't make the first time you practice this to be the first day of the ride. Also practice braking, your hand signals, all of that. Again, so this is the same thing I was talking about before. When you work on your distances, you want to build up slowly. You never want to build in large chunks. It's not good for your muscle memory, and we don't want any injury. And you do want to be riding several times a week. I talked about a long ride once a week. You do want to add 1 or 2 days in the same week that are shorter rides. If it's raining or you can't get out on your bike that much, then at least either get on your bike and put it on a trainer, which basically allows you to ride your bike in place, or get on a stationary bike. It is really important to learn your limits. We like to say this is a ride, not a race. We break our riders into 3 groups, not because we feel that some are stronger riders than others and they're going to go faster, but because we want everybody to be really comfortable at whatever level they're at. And this is a time and a place and a wonderful community to just do what you can do without feeling the pressure to push yourself harder. Pushing harder than you can deal with for a long distance ride is going to lead to injury, and we don't want you to be hurt. We want you to have a good time. As far as non-bike exercises, again, I'm happy to help talk anybody through a training plan that aside from riding, but you do want to build up your quads, your glutes, your butt, your lower back. The stronger you make these muscles and the more you keep them stretched out, the easier it will be to go up hills. I will say that this past year when I did the ride, it was the first time I had done a long distance ride with hills, having been involved in CrossFit for a year before, which is very big on a lot of quad strength. And I have to say, my experience was entirely different in a positive way. I was much more capable of going up hills than I'd ever been before, and that had a lot to do with non-bike exercises. Talking about hills, that's a big concern. People get, those who are experienced riders are looking forward to the hills, but there are a lot of people who have either concerns going uphill or downhill. Uphill requires thus that you build up your calves and, you build up your quads and your calves and your lower back, and that goes to what I was just talking about. Descents, going downhill, that's less about physical strength and more about mental strength, number 1, and number 2, practice, practice, and practice. You're practicing to figure out how to use your brakes, to how to shift your weight, and also just to get over any fear, a lot of it really is in your head more than on the road, so that you don't get scared when you're going down hills. Again, this is something that you can do either if you have a bike group that you get out with, or a meetup group that you can look for. Start with smaller hills in your area and just practice going down so that the feeling is not overwhelming. And the most important thing is try to look about 50 feet in front of you and don't look, you know, all the way down the hill. That can freak you out unnecessarily. I will fully admit to the fact that I love going uphill and I hate going downhill. And I've been on, and this past year was my first ride, so everything was new. And nothing was as scary as that picture, for example, that Sam has in the back. Always keep in mind that if a hill, you just don't feel like it, you're not having a good day, you're tired, or it's not working for you, there will always be a sag bus behind you for you to get picked up and brought down to the bottom of a hill. Absolutely no judgment. Another thing to practice is urban cycling. There are a lot of people, including myself before I moved to New York City, who are very comfortable doing long distances on open stretches of road. We will be having some city riding, not a lot, but the first day of the ride, the last day of the ride, and possibly when we go through Ashkelon, we will be going on city streets. And we've chosen roads that don't have a lot of cars, but there will be cars. And again, it's as much about learning cycling rules as it is about just getting your mind to be comfortable with the fact that there's a car on the other side of the street. Go to in your local neighborhood, try to find some roads that are not heavily trafficked, but have some traffic and a good shoulder, which is the side where, you know, we pull our cars over when we need to, and practice some riding there. Riding in the rain. We do not have permits to ride in the rain. This is important to note, regardless of how comfortable you are in cycling in any condition, because if there are downpours, we will pull the ride off the road. That should make anybody who's a little fearful about riding in really wet conditions a little calmer. We're not going to make you do that. We don't have the permits to do that. Also, it's the desert. It's not going to be a cold rain. If we do get a little bit of a sprinkle, it'll probably feel really good. The most important thing is to slow down. And sunglasses or glasses, something that keeps the water out of your eyes, is helpful, as is a light rain jacket. Last, heat safety. You want to drink a lot of water, but also have liquid that has other electrolytes and salt in it. It's the desert, so sometimes it's hot. November, it could be hot, or it could be really nicely temperate. You may not feel that you're sweating. In fact, you may not at all, because the air is so dry. It's extremely important to keep drinking water and to keep having electrolytes and other sorts of liquids come in. This is good for your muscles, but it's also just very important so that you don't dehydrate. You won't feel it until later, but when it does come on, it can be pretty brutal. So drink water, drink water, drink water. And also, I would say you should be drinking water regularly in your life, but if it is something that's more challenging, don't start the day of the race. It's like a fast. Don't do it 2 hours before. Start getting lots of liquids into your body about a week before, and that'll help with your muscles. The last thing with group riding, talk about group riding for a minute, is another thing to practice, either in a meetup group. Hazon and Arva together are riding what we call tribe rides. They're fun community cycling events that we have in several cities, and we're open to doing in more if you want to start one in your neighborhood. And that helps you get comfortable with riding with a friend. If you want to, ride and talk, that's not a bad thing, but you have to make sure that you're not riding 2 and 3 across in the road. That's not safe. It doesn't allow people to pass you. It also takes your focus and concentration off of the road. We generally try to have people ride in single file when and if possible. If somebody is not feeling well, or they have a tire that pops, or something's a little wonky and they've pulled over to the side of the road, just check in on them as you're riding. We don't need, though, a whole cluster of people stopping on the side of the road. It's dangerous for people coming around. We need people to keep moving, and we don't want to cause any issues with traffic. If there is an injury, God forbid, and We have medics who will come and take care. We don't need a whole, again, we don't need a whole cluster of people, but definitely be friendly. And if you see someone on the side of the road, just call out and say, "You okay? All good?" and keep going. We're not going to leave any rider behind. Our groups stay together on this ride. So for those who have been on the ride before, they know what this means. If you're a speed demon and you're all ready to go, make sure you're with a group that is also a fast group and wants to stick together. But know that you cannot go in front of your lead rider, and that's for your safety as well as for everybody else's. To the other end, if you are a newer rider or it's really beautiful around you and you're not riding quickly, just keep in mind that you need to stick with your group, and if you're struggling to keep up, we will sweep you, meaning we might pick you up and put you back with the rest of your group. But the important thing is to remember that you're never going to be out there by yourself, and we will always take care of you. You're going to have a lead rider in the front and a sweep rider in the back and a sweep vehicle behind that. Nobody gets left in the desert, ever. So the handbook has lots of helpful information about nutrition, but on the ride itself, you'll see that we have lots of delicious fresh fruits and vegetables and salad and locally grown things to eat. It's important to eat a fair amount of carbs, which gives you your sugar intake to keep your energy levels up. Protein is there to help with your muscles and keeping your muscles from getting fatigued. You don't want to eat things that are heavy, because that's, you know, when you eat something heavy, you want to plop yourself in front of a TV and let your body digest. But here we're going to keep moving, and heavy foods can make you a little sick. Like I said before, you need salts and lots of water. Okay, that is the end of the presentation for training. If anybody has any questions, they can email me directly. I'd be happy to help you source some training opportunities in your neighborhood, and I look forward to seeing you in November.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Miriam. It looks like, as you may be able to see, Jessie is still having a bit of technical difficulties. We might be able to get her on sound, at least for a little bit. But before that, I just wanted to say one more thing before we get into the Q&A section, which is that we do have a number of ways to connect with our community leading up to the ride outside of these webinars, and particularly focused on training. So first of all, I would recommend that you all go to Facebook, and not just like our Facebook page, which I certainly recommend. We always like to see when you guys can support us and stay updated about the latest Israel Ride news. But if you go into the search box and type in the Israel Ride and request access to join the alumni group, I will approve you. If you are registered for this year, you can be a member of that Facebook group. And that's a great way to connect with all of our alumni across previous years. We post a lot of updates there as well. And you guys can kind of, have your own conversation in that forum outside of our, public Israel Ride page, which the link is listed in front of you. So the group is really a great resource for riders specifically. And then beyond that, we also have a number of events. Many of you might have attended information session this winter or spring leading up to the Israel Ride. And those parlor meeting events are transitioning over to training rides for the summer. So definitely be on the lookout. Check out our website, israelride.org/events. You can also see it on Facebook at facebook.com/israelride/events. All of our training rides will be posted in both of those places. And additionally, we have a new initiative this year, which we're launching with the Zone, which I just want to let Miriam talk about briefly. But they will be called Tribe Rides, and they're going to be running in addition to our less formal training rides. And
Great,
Miriam, I
thank
think you're muted.
Yeah, here we go. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, so tribe rides are, like Sam said, community rides that the Arva and Hazon are working together to create. What makes them different than regular community or more relaxed rides you do with your friends is we partner with local organizations in your neighborhood, like JCCs or synagogues or whatnot. We find a layperson who's an enthusiastic cyclist. We help them create a route. We create cue sheets that we send to the lay leaders in advance. We help with registration. And then the day of the ride, there are snacks. There is a chance for you to meet other Israel and Hazon riders. It's a wonderful way to invite your friends who are not involved with either organization. And these rides are both ways to get out and train and to stay connected to other people in the community who are both cyclists and interested in social justice, environmental sustainability, and all the great work that the Arva is doing. So there is a list of current rides available on Hazon's website, and I believe Sam is putting them up on the Israel Ride website as well. And I have a number of dates where I could create additional rides. So if you're interested in creating a well-supported casual ride, if you will, to get people out and enjoying training in your neighborhood, let me know, and I'd be happy to put them on the calendar. Oh, I see here there's a how long are the tribe rides typically. Emily, the tribe rides are, generally the way I do them is as follows. I do, they're usually about 30 miles, but I split them up into something that starts with, let's say, 10 miles, and then we stop, and then we keep going for the rest of the length, however long that is. That's specifically so that if you're coming on the ride, but you have friends that you want to come who might be a little overwhelmed right now for doing a long ride, it gives them the opportunity to get involved without getting overwhelmed. And also allows people who might not be ready for the Israel ride or a Hazon ride this year, but might be interested in the future. Last, it gives us a chance to get off our bikes, introduce ourselves, talk a little bit about the organizations, and possibly talk about whatever interesting point of interest we're near.
Great, thank you very much, Miriam. As you mentioned, if you do have any interest in hosting or attending either a tribe ride or a training ride, please be in touch with either her or myself. We would be happy to get that going for you in your community. At this point, I think we are ready to take some questions and answers. I'm hoping that we can get Jesse back on the line to answer some of the questions that we've had. Jesse, are you there by chance? Okay, it seems like we're still having some technical difficulties, unfortunately. I'll have Jesse kind of message me the answers to some of these questions, and hopefully we can do our due diligence. As we mentioned at the beginning, Jesse is the operations manager for the Israel Ride, so anything logistical would generally be in kind of her area of expertise. So I will apologize in advance if I don't know the information, but I think we should be able to get it to you. So I just am looking at the beginning of the chat. We did answer a few questions in the chat box, so I just want to make sure that everyone saw that. So there was a question if you would have access to the training mileage chart. And yes, all of our training resources are available online at israelride.org/training. And you can find that just by going to the home page and then clicking on the For Riders section, which will be a great place to find a number of resources beyond just training for the ride. Additionally, most of our resources are available in the handbook as well. So that's also between the handbook and the web page. Those are definitely your two best places to go. Next, we had a question of if the drinks that Miriam was describing would be provided on the ride. And yes, we do provide electrolyte powder, which you can mix with your water at each rest stop. But please note that if you have a preferred brand or a preferred flavor, we can't guarantee that we'll have it available. So we certainly recommend bringing your own if you are particular about that. And we did get one recommendation from Marcy Needle for apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but Noon tablets and UUN, I guess, is a good option that some alumni have used in the past. We had David Ehrlich asked if there was access to CO2 cartridges in Israel since they are not permitted on the airplane. Yes, there are a number of bike shops in Jerusalem which you can stop at on Tuesday, the orientation day, or Monday leading up to the ride, if you do want to carry some CO2 cartridges on you. But know that our mechanics will be fully supplied with everything they need. It's just, if you don't want to wait the 5 minutes that it might take for them to get to you and you prefer to just, pump up your tire yourself, you can absolutely do that. And great. So I just want to try one more time to see if we can get Jesse's voice even on the line. And if not, then I'll just address the rest of the questions. So it looks like we're still having some difficulties, in which case I will continue. So.
Hey, wait, can you hear me now?
Oh, wonderful. Hi, Jesse. So great to see your face. So I'll let you take it over from here.
Hi, Evan. I apologize. As operations manager, it is beyond embarrassing that the technology was not working for me in particular. I apologize. Thank you for your patience. And thank you to my co-presenters, Sam and Miriam, for their great presentation so far. As Sam said, I am the operations manager. I will be your contact for everything having to do with logistics, with your accommodations, with bikes, with planes, trains, automobiles, anything like that. I will be there on the ride as well. I will probably be running around with a clipboard and a headphone and a headset, making sure everything goes smoothly. So to answer some of the questions that were asked in the chat box, there is no official deadline for registration for the Israel ride. However, we do ask that you let us know sooner rather than later, as we have almost 190 people joining us this year, and it takes quite a lot of logistics to make everything run smoothly. There is, however, a price hike that everyone should know about for the registration fee. Registration is currently $675 US, and on August 1st, it will go up to $799 US. And that will be the last price hike for the ride. So we do recommend, if you are thinking of joining us on the Israel ride, which we do hope you will, that you join us before the end of July to get in the lower price at the moment. Another question that was asked was about riding groups, as to if you can switch riding groups, change riding groups if you have to decide ahead of time. Essentially, the first day that we ride is Wednesday, November 9th, which is actually the second day of the ride. On that day, we allow you to pick any group you prefer, as everybody starts in the same place and then everyone ends in the same place. We then ask that you choose your riding group for the rest of the ride. And you'll get that experience on Wednesday of the different riding groups, so you can sort of see what feels best. I generally recommend that on that first day, you push yourself maybe a little harder than you might normally, see how that feels, and then you can choose for the rest of the ride. This is mainly for accommodations, as there are 2 evenings where the different groups and some of the riders are sleeping in different accommodations. On Thursday evening, the riding groups will be in different towns altogether. And this is a really nice bonding experience for each of the riding groups. It also means that spouses and partners who are riding in different groups will be separated that evening. If you have further questions, I would say contact me separately after this, but we do try and match up people on those nights as well. The next question that I saw was, Steve, you asked about a discount for El Al. For those who are not, who did not know about this, we have a nice partnership with El Al, the main air carrier for Israel. If you are flying out of the New York area, and that is JFK, LaGuardia, or Newark, or if you're flying out of Boston, Logan, or if you're flying out of LA, LAX specifically, and you are bringing your bike with you, El Al has graciously offered to waive the fee of bringing your bike to Israel. And these are the flights that are direct flights. There are no code shares or stopovers. And you will have to pay the fee of bringing your bike on the way back to the States or wherever you're flying to. And on our website, there are some very easy instructions on how to do this. Essentially, though, once you've booked your flight with El Al, you simply need to email me, Jessie@israelride.org, with your flight information, and I will make sure that the fee waiver is included for you. There's not a physical voucher that you'll get. The fee waiver will simply be applied when you check in at the airport. Let's see if there are further questions here.
There was a question about day bags and when people have access to them versus access to regular luggage at stops and at the hotel.
Great, thank you. Right, I see David asked that, so thank you, David, for that question. Day packs, we recommend bringing a backpack or a small backpack on the ride, and this is for everyone. For folks who are in the Shomrim, which is the average of 30 miles a day, because you ride from breakfast until lunch, obviously with stops along the way and not just straight through, don't worry. And then after lunch, you'll actually be able to change into kind of normal clothes. You'll generally go on some sort of tour, a walk, a hike, something else that's not on your bike. So Shomrim will definitely need some sort of bag to bring with them on the bus that they will leave on the bus. The bus is locked, and there's the driver with it all the time. It's incredibly safe. But you will need to bring a bag with items that you'll want for the rest of the day to change out of your bike clothes if you'd like to. For the other 2 groups, for the Tzofim, the middle group, and the Chalutzim, also there are buses that follow the group that you'll be able to leave a day pack on. Depending on the day, you may be able to get that at lunch or at particular rest stops. But generally, we say for the Tzofim and Chalutzim to assume that you won't need much during the day that we won't provide for you at our lunch or rest stops, which is everything from water and, like Sam wrote, electrolyte powders and such, and food and sunscreen and any of that. So if there's anything that you want to bring on your bike with you, which might be a cell phone or a camera, you can store that maybe in it's called, a Q sheet holder, which is generally something small that kind of velcros onto your handlebars, or you might be interested in also a small under the seat little zip case that you can often buy at lots of bike stores. But overall, your luggage, your main luggage, will not be accessible until the evening. And I'm seeing here, yes, we do provide sunscreen. I would say if you are very pale complexioned as I am, that maybe you want to bring some more higher SPF. I think we generally provide around 30 SPF, but we provide tons of sunscreen for you. We do not, I think, have aloe. So in case you do get a little bit red, I would recommend bringing maybe some lotion or aloe for your nose. Let's see.
Jesse, just before you continue, I just wanted to say it looks like we have about 10 minutes left. We're getting a bunch of questions just about bringing bikes and mechanics and bike storage when you're on the ride. So we definitely can talk a bit about how that whole process works with bringing your own bike and versus rental bikes and the support that we offer. But just before we do that, since we are running out of time, I just wanted to wait a minute and see if any other questions related to training. We're going to come in. Again, if you're on the phone and have a question, please email me at sam@israelride.org, and I'd be happy to present that to the group. But if we can just wait like 30 seconds, see if there are any other questions regarding training specifically, and then we'd be happy to talk about the rental bike and bringing your own bike and mechanics. So Jesse, you can just wait a minute and then get started whenever you're comfortable.
Sure thing. All right, I'll give a brief overview about bikes, and then if any other questions come in, I'd be happy to answer those. So an overview about bikes, we have bikes for rent, hybrid bikes and road bikes, and they're all very standard sizes. We do have limited numbers, however, so I would recommend if you are definitely thinking of renting a bike with us, that you do that sooner rather than later. That can be done on our logistics form, which you can find on our website underneath the For Riders section. As well, we've sent out a few rider participant rider emails. Hopefully you've received those. Those also have links to the logistics form. For those of you bringing your bikes, we contract with a storage company located at Ben Gurion International Airport. We give you a phone number to call when you get to the airport. The storage company folks will come and pick up your bike in this bike box from you at the arrivals terminal. They will hold onto the bike for you and then deliver it directly to the hotel in Jerusalem. This works for folks who are showing up a week, 2 weeks before the ride starts, so you don't need to worry about that. We also give them your flight information ahead of time so they know when to expect your arrival. And they hold onto your bike box during the course of the ride. Similarly, at the end, they will bring the bike boxes down to a lot. Our mechanics will help disassemble your bikes and repackage it up. And then we will bring your bike back to Ben Gurion at the end of your stay in Israel, where you'll be able to pick up your bike at the airport at the departures terminal. A quick note about if you are renting bikes with us, if you have a seat or pedals that you like to use at home, we recommend bringing the pedals and the seat with you, and our mechanics can fix those onto our rental bikes. So if you have clip-in shoes and pedals at home, we recommend bringing those. We have cages available, and for those who don't know, cages are essentially little plastic or metal cages that you can fit your shoe into on the pedal so that you get better traction. And you can use any shoe to ride with the clip-ins. I'm sorry, with the cages. Yeah, so our bikes are easy to manipulate in that way. And in general, our mechanics, our team of mechanics that we have on the ride are incredible. Many of them we've used for many, many years. They know and they take care of the bikes, of our rental bikes during the year that we're not using them. And so they make sure everything is tuned up. All of our hybrid bikes are brand new this year, which we're very proud of. The road bikes are in great condition, and none of them are more than 4 or 5 years old and not ridden often. And our mechanics, like we said, are at the back of every riding group. So if you happen to get a flat or something happens when you're on the ride, you won't have to wait more than 5 or 10 minutes at the most for a mechanic to come by and fix the flat or help you with anything. And I think that's all the questions about bike. Looking through again and seeing if there was anything else. Were there any, Sam or Miriam, were there any questions that I missed while I was technologically not here?
Yeah, I think you covered everything. We have about 5 minutes left, so we can wait a minute or two and see if any other questions come in. Again, if you're on the phone, feel free to email me at sam@israelride.org, and we'd be happy to address any questions you have. Great question, Emily. Let me just look up the date to make sure that I'm giving you the correct information. But like I said, we will be having one webinar every month for the next 5 months, including May, leading up to the Israel Ride. Our next webinar is scheduled for June 21st, another Tuesday, also 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, that was June 21st, if you want to add that to your calendar. And we will be covering Convio, the Participant Center, which is a great fundraising resource for you. So again, in webinars 2 and 3, we will be digging a bit more deeply into fundraising. And then 4 and 5 will go a bit more into life on the ride itself. More information about our wonderful mechanics and staff and crew that support. You can currently RSVP for each webinar series through our website. However, we will also remind you before those webinars, so it's not like you need to go do it right this second. And when we send out the recording tomorrow, or we'll send out a link to the recording tomorrow, we will also include a link to RSVP for the upcoming webinars as well. So thank you all very much for joining us. Again, if you do have any other questions, please forward them along now. You can reach each of us at our emails, just our first name at israelride.org. That's Sam, Jesse, and Miriam at israelride.org. And sorry, Jesse, did you have something to say?
Yes, sorry. Before we ended, I also just wanted to remind everyone that on our website, we have a ton of information similar to what Miriam went over. And we also have some videos on our website, on the israelride.org website, that I highly recommend everyone going to check out. On the regular israelride.org website, at the top underneath For Riders, you'll see a section about training. And on this, you'll be able to see everything that Miriam went over and more. Some of these videos are videos on how to change gears. For those of us who are less familiar with changing gears, some of these videos are about urban cycling tips. Highly recommend just going and checking out those various sections on our website so that you can refer back to them in the future. And I believe someone actually asked if the training graph that Miriam went over would be available for download. It is on the website in the training section. So you can definitely download that graph from our website.
Great. Well, again, thank you all very much. We've reached our hour limit, so we will definitely respect your time and let you go. If you are interested in hosting or attending a training ride or tribe ride, we certainly hope that you will be in touch. And we definitely look forward to meeting you in November, if not before. So thank you all again, and speak to you in a month, if not earlier. And have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.